serotonin. Too little or too much, and you have a problem. But the right amount of serotonin, my friends, is clutch for mood, for behavior, for general well-being, for cognitive function, and in keeping you interested about stuff in life. Serotonin is very confusing. You know, it's like I feel like the last 5 years on the internet, it's just become this thing like people don't want to have a lot of it, right? Serotonin causes sexual dysfunction because, you know, the SSRI guys are like, serotonin messed with everything. Some people think that, you know, serotonin or in excess or high levels of serotonin kind of blunts their mood and gives them anhedonia. So there's a lot of confusion about what serotonin actually does, but I can assure you that having the right amount of serotonin in the brain, not too much and not too little, is a significant game changer for a lot of things. Before we get into that, hey bro, look, you either owe me a like or you don't owe me a like, and it depends on whether you get this right. So pick it now, heads or tails, and I'm going to flip this coin. Go ahead and pick it. Let's flip it. All right, we got tails. So look, if you pick tails, you're good to go. You can move on. But if you pick heads, you got it wrong, and you owe your boy a like. Quick, wanted to mention again the Cortex Nootropics Act. That's V2, the new version of Cortex, which is highly stimulating but also flow inducing, is 15% off. Coupon code is 15 now. That also applies to the Torque stack. Highly stimulating, highly energizing, highly motivating. Both of our stacks are on sale, 15% off. Coupon code is 15 now. You can do that in the description of this video or at livecortex.com. So serotonin, right? It's this confusing neurotransmitter. Again, on the web, it's just gotten a bad rap over the course of the last 5 to 10 years, like on the blogosphere and on the forums, because people have run into a lot of problems with serotonergic drugs. Now, I want to make it clear, those drugs do a lot of different things. Serotonin, you know, in excess quantity is prolactogenic. That's going to fuss with gonadotropin release and hormones. Serotonin reuptake inhibitors also heavily mess with neurosteroid quantity, initially surging them, but kind of taxing them therein. You know, there's a host of other downstream negatives from like excessive synaptically available serotonin. And the only way that you would really get that is by inhibiting reuptake via inhibiting the SERT, or the serotonin transporter, which is what a lot of these drugs do. However, you know, if you're in a state of depleted serotonin, which a lot of those guys actually are post SSRI, but just like generally regular folks, if you're in a state of depleted serotonin, or if you manufacture it, I mean, you can actually manufacture it by taking like a specific set of amino acids, or branched chain amino acids like leucine, valine, isoleucine. There's a couple that you can take that will actually stop serotonin synthesis. Then I can assure you very quickly, you're going to end up in a pretty bad place, guys. You do want enough of serotonin. I'm just going to tell you how I get when I don't have enough serotonin, and I know it. I'm going to talk about my strategy to kind of get it back in. And it's not supplemental, by the way. A lot of people think, well, just take 5-HTP and or tryptophan, and sometimes like your body doesn't really convert it at the level that you would want, at the pace that you would want, and ending up in the kind of quantity that makes sense and is balanced. You want serotonin balance. You don't want a surge, you don't want an excess, and you don't want to be deficient in it. You want a balance.
A bit harder. Yeah. But then you know you're getting some good strength. You know, if you're concerned at all, you might want to have a chair in front of you so that if you need to grab something for balance.
So here's how I get. When I realized that serotonin's not firing in adequate quantities, I haven't put in enough precursors in food or like consumed enough probiotics, which I'm going to get to, then my mood, my general like happiness about things in life that otherwise I'm happy about, kind of goes to shit. Like it's like I wake up not excited. The first thing on my mind is the shitty thing that's going on in my life. I spend probably a disproportionate amount of my day in terms of where my thinking goes, focusing on or thinking about negative shit. And I don't even mean to do it. I'm not even trying to do it, friends. That's just what happens when serotonin isn't in adequate quantities for me. I don't feel up to doing a whole lot, and not because I don't have the energy, because I'm just not interested in things. All right, very important distinctions. That's how I feel when I don't have, you know, enough serotonin for me, and it can deplete relatively quickly if I'm not building it in my diet. Essentially, if I'm not building it via things that I'm doing consciously and judiciously, I just don't feel well. That spark, that excitement for things, that, you know, energized state where I'm like very interested in whatever it is that I like to do on a daily basis. Like I like to game, I like to do content, I like to do scientific research, I like to learn things, I like meeting new people. If serotonin's low, I'm not very interested in doing any of that or much of anything. All right, so let me quickly talk about, before we get into some of the literature, let me talk about what I do to replenish serotonin, okay? First, though, I guess we should talk about what I don't do. I don't take tryptophan. I don't take 5-HTP. I don't take St. John's wort, which really is a mild serotonin reuptake inhibitor. It'll keep some serotonin around. I don't really love the idea of that. I don't take any SSRIs. I don't take any serotonergic drugs, and I don't take any otherwise supplements that foster, increases in serotonin. This is what I do when I'm in that state where I know serotonin needs to be bumped up just enough, just a bit, to enliven everything, to get me back in that really good mood where I'm interested in life and I'm generally happy. I consume probiotics, and that is typically in the form of yogurt. Now, one of the chemicals, so I consume Noosa yogurt. This isn't promotion for Noosa. I just love their stuff, no affiliation. But one of the main probiotics, which is very popular, and this is no surprise to a lot of you guys, is Lactobacilli acidophilus. That's in Noosa yogurt. Now, there's others, and I'm going to get to that. But one of the interesting things about, Lactobacilli acidophilus is that it actually balances serotonin. You'll find papers like this where people have ulcerative colitis, and they're producing too much serotonin in their gut. And what acidophilus actually does is reduce the amount of serotonin in an overproducing serotonin gut. But you're also going to find papers of Lactobacilli acidophilus increasing and balancing serotonin. So I think that's one chemical that's very useful for balancing levels, not giving you too much and making sure that if you have too little, you end up making more of it. Now, one of the other primary or predominant live cultures that is in Noosa yogurt, and you can probably find in a lot of other yogurts, is Streptococcus thermophilus. All right, this is a pretty important strain because as you see here, there's a couple strains. There's like a very particular types of strains that contribute to serotonin production in the gut, and S. thermophilus is one of them. So I feel like once I start eating Noosa and just getting it into my diet, honestly start noticing it within 6-7 hours after dosing it, if you will.
This is an unwinnable fight for you, my boy. Yo, I put probiotics in my probiotics. I want my gut to be as strong as Donald's.
That this Streptococcus strain and other strains in the yogurt are actually making me produce more serotonin. Now, this is gut-borne, okay? This is not, again, I'm not taking any precursors to serotonin because, again, it's harder for the brain to control that when you're just giving it raw precursor. Maybe useful in some situations, but it doesn't really jive well with me. I like the process to be extremely natural for my gut to produce the serotonin as a result of specific strains of bacteria going in there and forcing that process through butyrate and other physiologic gut-based processes, where then, after a lag period, I end up with the serotonin neurologically that I'm targeting, and I generally start to feel better. Like if I'm in that state where I'm not interested in stuff and my mood's kind of shit, I start eating yogurt and I start feeling better rather quickly. Any probiotic food that contains either Lactobacilli plantarum or Lactobacilli lactis, these are also serotonin producing strains. In a paper titled Bifidobacterium, a probiotic for the prevention and the treatment of depression, they go on to hypothesize that there's a regulation of tryptophan metabolism, right? This is a pure building block that you would get in food for building serotonin that takes place with the consumption of certain bifido strains. And one of the strains that I've talked about before that you can actually get a single strain of it. Now there's a particular nomenclature type. It's called BB536, but Bifidobacterium longum. Like if you just got a regular Bifidobacterium longum supplement or a supplement with Bifido longum in it, or a yogurt, if you can find one that has Bifido species in it that has longum, then you're going to be building more serotonin. Interestingly, in this paper, a particular strain, Bifidobacterium longum NCC 3001, had significantly improved depressive symptoms and the quality of life scores compared with the placebo group, as well as improved responses to multiple brain regions, including the amygdala, the marginal frontal lobe, to negative emotional stimuli. Like, go back to the beginning of this video where I talked about what happens to me when serotonin is low and I know it, right? I have negative thoughts that are sort of pervasive and kind of invasive, and I'm not even trying to think about things from a negative frame. It's just how my brain tends to want to go in that state. Whereas, in this case, the right Bifido strain, but, S. thermophilus and, Lactobacilli acidophilus, among other live cultures that are in probiotics, there's a lot of them that ultimately end up helping you build more serotonin. You have a better response to negative emotional stimuli. So let me just quickly break down the strategy, because you don't want too much and you don't want too little. Okay, so let's just start with that. Okay, with serotonin, don't want, if I can spell, too much, don't want too little. You want it balanced. What I like to do, my strategy, is to sort of wait until depletion symptoms show up. Again, mood is shit, not interested in things I'd otherwise be interested in doing. generally do not have if I could spell, a zest for life. I mean, like, that's pretty crappy, right? Your zest goes away. This is my cue to start eating yogurt. Okay. And some other things, like when these things show up, like, I'm not eating yogurt all the time. I do love it. I like to switch the foods that I eat for gut health and among other things. But it's like when this starts to happen, when the serotonin depletion symptoms show up, that's my cue to then start eating yogurt, right? It's very, very simple. Like, I'm not, proposing some insanely complex 5-HTP plus tryptophan plus SJW to keep some serotonin around longer type of strategy, because I think that's convolutes things. And it also creates serotonin imbalances, which you don't want, messes with sexual function, and also messes with your mood as well. I wait until the depletion symptoms show up, and then I just start layering yogurt into my diet. If there's no yogurt around, I will take some probiotic supplements that contain specific strains that are known to build serotonin. And then like clockwork, my friends, I start feeling better. And that's usually because after the kind of gut metabolism of all this and the production of some of the short chain fatty acids, some of the building blocks in the gut that facilitate tryptophan synthesis, and generally the production of serotonin, usually I start feeling better, like in a better mood. I mean, that's the first thing that gets better within 6 hours or so. So what's the takeaway? I think there are a lot of generalities and there are a lot of phrases getting thrown around and a lot of notions getting thrown around about certain neurotransmitters, right? Dopamine equals motivation. Well, deplete dopamine and you're also going to have memory and verbal fluency problems. They're all very connected in a variety of ways and do a lot of things. Serotonin is pretty critical for mood. Having it at the right levels is exceptionally imperative for you to feel happy and be engaged in stuff, guys. And be excited about life and be in that place where you generally giving off good, happy vibes because you feel happy. All right. So look, I'm not asking you to do any of this stuff. I'm just saying this is what I do. Do not forget, my friends, both of our nootropic stacks right now, 15% off. Coupon code is 15 now. We just launched the new version of Cortex and it's almost selling out. I'm kind of getting freaked out because so many people are purchasing the stack. High level focus, clean stimulant flow, mental energy, verbal fluency at the same time, mental processing speed, a stimulant with a balancer in it. All right. So you got this hardcore good brain energy and focus, but at the same time, you don't feel overstimmed or like you drank too much coffee. It's a great balanced stack. 15% off right now. Coupon code is 15 now. I don't have to explain the Torque stack. And if I do, you've been living under a rock, my friends, because this thing ships to 40 countries and has been one of the most popular nootropic stacks on the internet. Motivation, mental energy, verbal fluency, total brain energy. Get TorqueLiveCortex.com, 15% off. Coupon code 15 now. Don't sleep on serotonin. It's only bad in excess and superficially induced massive availability in the synaptic spaces and, fostered by drugs. You want a right balance of it. And I hope I've encouraged you to look into it.